All right, time to do another video on doing this for the V3 build. I've already done the whole complete series for V2. This is going to be the V3. Last time we did step 3 where we assembled all these parts. Took way longer than I thought it might, but I think having a video might be helpful for this. So next up, we're going to work on this part. Oh, excuse me, we're going to go back up to step 2. And yeah, step 2 is going to be a little bit tricky. We want to end up with, I think that the end of this, we should have something that looks like this. Maybe we can try and zoom in on this and see what we got here. What we have, there are some parts that are hidden, I guess, in this view, but fundamentally we have a bearing over here. This is a hex bearing, so it's got the 6-sided bearing in here. We have the hex shaft, again, 6-sided shaft. We have the miter gear with the, again, hex. You remember in the last one we were getting the D-bore miter. This is going to be the Rex, called Rex in goBilda. This is going to be the Rex shaft miter gear. And then inside of here, we have a whole bunch of other stuff. We have this, we have the bearing, we have the thrust bearing, and then we have the miter gear. I think it shows a little blow up of that up here. So some of the same things we're going to do. We need to really think this through, how we want to do this. And I've messed this up before, so you can learn from my failures. We need to have a point of reference. If I want to build this thing, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this kind of hidden part back here. I'm going to work on getting this bearing and then this thrust. So like ultimately my thinking here is that I need to have a point of reference that I can build off of. My point of reference that I'm going to start from is this hole in the U channel. I know where that location is on the robot, and then I just need to put this quad block, I need to put this bearing into that position, into that hole, and then I can put this looks like the washer part of the thrust bearing onto the bearing, and then I can put the other part of this, well, I guess hopefully these two will be one piece, put these two onto the bearing, and that's a good place to get started. Probably next up, I will try and put a bearing in on the other side here, and then I might put in the shaft and see if I can get everything to work well together. All right, so let's get started. The first two things, so I need to add in these two the thrust bearing and the regular bearing first. Let me insert those. I'll show the thrust bearing just because I think that that's one that's easy to mess up. Let me scroll up to here, and we'll go into the, oh, why is this doing that? We need to go into the thrust bearing. What do we need to have? Thrust bearing, we're going to do the 8mm ID. Again, I want to, as always, I'm just going to be repetitious, but I'm going to go back to my home, goBilda, put in that SKU. All right, so now this is the one that gets some weird options, and I'm glad that I included this part in the video. I am blocking this a little bit, so let's scroll over. Maybe I can just move my head here. I think blocking over this part would be better than anything else. All right, so in here, we're going to look through this. These are all the different parts. There's no assemblies on here, which is kind of annoying. These are all the individual ball bearings. I don't know why you would need that level of detail. We're going to scroll all the way down to here to the thrust bearing, and I'm going to click the second to last one. In here, again, we don't want to do use parts. We're going to go into assemblies. A new, I think that's fine. I don't think really the outer diameter is going to matter as long as it's a 8mm interior diameter. I don't want both washers. I just want one washer. That's what it looks like in the picture. So we are going to assemble this. I might as well leave this up here to get the other parts. But yeah, we want this one washer. We're going to generate. We're going to click that thing. Let's just find a little space to put that in. All right, next up, what else do I think in here I just need a bearing. I know I'm going to need at least 2 of these. Let me just do 1 for now. Yeah, all right, so yeah, I'm going to have this in here. I posted this. I put this in here. These are the options that I got out. Let me help you find the right one that I think is going to be best. Yeah, I'm not going to do that one. It says do not use. I'm going to trust them. This looks good. I'm mainly looking at the 8mm Rex ID, 4mm outer diameter. I think that's correct for our size of doing this. I need to go into assemblies, grab that, and we'll get a bearing in here. We'll click OK. All right, so let's start putting these into our positions. I am just going to zoom in on this bearing, and then I'm not going to get these too close to one another. I'm just going to say, oh, where'd it go? There we go. So I'm going to grab, I know this part of the bearing needs to match to somewhere on the U channel. So let me grab that first. And then let me go into the U channel. See, am I working on the inside or the outside of the U channel? I think looks like I'm working on the outside of the U channel. And what position I need to go in that second hole. So we're going to select these 2 positions. Oh, why did I not select that other one? That's so annoying. not the first time that's happened, but it's disappointing every time. And let's go into here, and we're going to add in, no, I don't want the face. I think that's why, because I'm adding in, maybe I must have selected the wrong two geometries. I want that, and then I think I want to put it right here. What is going on here? Did I click the wrong thing? That should be mated, should be fastened to, I think that's probably the best one. Now I think the sides are a little bit off from that. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to rotate around. I should just barely see that flange sticking out the top, and I think I'm good there. All right, so we got that in place. Next up, we need to do the thrust bearing. So let's grab this part, and we're going to need to attach that into, where did I put that thing over here? All right, so I need to get this thing. Let's see. All right, where do we want to put these together? We need to have the washer part of this touching the flange. All right, here's what I'm going to use. I am going to use a planar mate on this, just to make this at least get narrowed down where these parts could be. I'm going to do a planar mate because these are not like really. There's no real clear point where these are like exactly touching. I don't know. Maybe there's other ways I could do this, but like this is a hexagon in here, and this is a circle. I think I'm going to try and at least plane them first, and then I'll see if there's a better next step after that. So let's get these two in the right spot. Do I need to flip these? No, I think I was in the right before. Yeah, that looks good. Solve, make sure we get that in there. That actually looks like it lined up just right. Problem is, like, don't rely on it. You really need to be careful about this to make sure that they're actually locked in place. I'm gonna try and move this thing. Yeah, because they're not actually locked in there. Let's see, what can I do? What if I put this back? Are there any parts that are like lined up on here naturally? I might try and, let's see if I can try and, I wonder if I can like put this onto, yeah. All right, let me try some options here. All right, so I'm going to use, actually, I'm going to give OnShape credit for this. We're going to do fasten on here, and I'm going to choose the outer ring of this. I think this is just going to do a really good job of trying to like match what I want. I'm going to choose the outer ring of this, and I'm going to choose the outer ring of this. I think it's going to try and just put it right in the center. So I don't think those things necessarily line up exactly right. I think if I do that, I get those two parts in there, even though I don't think those are necessarily the exact same size, but I think it's doing its best. Yeah. All right, so we got that. So I think that actually worked pretty well. We're going to go and let's see, what else do we need next? We need to get this flanged bearing. So I'm going to copy the flange bearing. I'm going to paste the flange bearing. And then I need to mount this over here. So I'm going to go to, I think I'll do fasten mate again on this. Select that part of this. And then I'm going to select this part. We're going to flip it. And we're hit OK. All right, so we got some parts of this going well. All right, now I think it's time to add in the shaft, add in the miter gear, and I think we should be close to done. I think that we could probably add the miter gear into this already. Let's see here. All right, so let's go add in, I think we need a miter gear and we need a shaft. Let's do those two, and then yeah, we'll go a little bit. And then I think we need to add the hex hub, but yeah, let's get this first. Let's get the miter gear in, the Rexbore miter gear. Go into here, we're gonna go into insert, other documents. And I'm going to add that piece in here. Let's see, what else do I need to add? I need to add in the Rex shaft. And we'll get in. Okay, so we'll take a look here. I think this is probably the best version of this. Let's grab that. We won't do the legacy part. We'll just grab that and then we'll check in here. All right, so now we need to get some of these pieces locked in here. I'm going to start with this piece. I want to get this locked onto my Rex shaft here. All right, let me pause this. Let me try something out. All right, so I think what I'm going to try and do is I want to get this. Oh, let's see. This part, this end, should be sticking into the over here, wherever I built that one. over here. Well, I should probably do some assembly stuff. It should be sticking into right here. So let me try and find some geometry that I can kind of use to my advantage here. Definitely planar mate could get these kind of close, but how am I going to get them directly in there? Planar would be a good first step. Let's just see fasten. Fasten sometimes works for these things, but not always. Let's see if we can do fasten mate. We're going to select the face of this. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right spot for that. Let's grab this. That needs to fit in there. Now, let's see. Oh, I got a good idea. I think we can use planar mates here. So it's just some creative, I think, well, creative problem solving if it works. If it's not, it's a bad idea. We're going to do planar mates on these two. Let's see. I'm going to really zoom in here. I'm going to do planar mates on that. That's a good first step. Hit solve. Like, okay, great. They're in the same plane, but that's not the good part yet. We can slide this out. The good part is that if I also put, I need to say that we're going to say planar that. Should go, oh, but it's not quite a plane though. I think it's got like a little bit of curved stuff to it. I wish I could zoom through that. Solve, is that gonna work? No, that's the problem. Like these geometries, like that is not quite a curve. I'm gonna stop this till I find the right answer. All right, so what I'm gonna end up doing for this piece is to grab the face here, fasten mate. I'm just gonna grab this piece, and I'm just going to try and, I'm just gonna let Fusion take the wheel, and I'm gonna try and just mount it onto here. And I think that if I have the planar mate, well, I just had this working. But I can get these two, I'll just use the correct fasten mate. Seems like it's the best choice on here. Choose that face. I really want that to fit on, oh, I think I just did like this. What about flange ball? What about like here? For some reason that decided, oh, it almost worked actually, not quite. That's so annoying. It's just they're not perfect fits. But that actually did work just a second ago. All right, I think they finally got this to work in a way that I like. Took me a while. I think that I probably could have been settled with a lesser perfect joint here, but I'm going to go with planar mate on here. I'm going to mate this thing, mate this piece to the inner wall of this bearing. I got to be able to scroll around in here. Like, let's grab those two things. Those should be the same. So I hit check. Those should be lined up just right. Now I'm actually going to grab this piece and we'll pull it out. And then what I want to have here, what I really want is this wall to be in plane with, let me show you. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to make this in plane with this part of the bearing here. I'll hit solve. That seems to get it to line up just right, which kind of makes sense. Those are the two things that should be touching in here, and that's finally, that is assembled. Whew. All right, so those things are all set in there. All right, so we have all that. Yeah, this isn't, see, that's part of the problem. This thing is hitting right there. Really, these should not be touching. I'm not going to worry about this for now. I'm not certain. Did I place these things in the wrong spot? 1, 2, 3, plus 1 back. Let's see. Hopefully you see how like the motor there was hitting into that. I know it's going to be a tight fit, but it should. They shouldn't be hitting each other. But I see these being in the right spot. 1, 2, 3, plus 1. Those are like just the right. Anyways, not going to stress about it too much. But yeah, that would be a problem. And then finally, this part needs to get mated onto there. All right, let's try and get this last part in here, and then I'll be able to copy and paste this somewhere else. All right, so let's see. I have my hex thing. I think what I want to do, I think I'm going to do my planar mate on this one. I want to choose the inside of this quad block. Choose the inside of this. And then I want to mount it to this plane. Let's see if we can rotate it. That looks, Hopefully that looks mostly good, although I'm not so sure. Oh, we also need to flip it. Might be helpful I got rid of everything else. All right, rotate, rotate. Okay, what is going on here? Oh, maybe rotate like that and then flip it. Yeah, that's good. Now it's in plane. I think that should be in plane. I should be able to grab this thing and then just drag it. I should be able to look and see that this is like right in line. Yeah, that looks good. All right, next up, I'm going to try and do a tangent mate on here. I really want this ball to be tangent to the plane inside here. So I'm going to go over to this. I'm going to select tangent from this. I'm going to select this ball, and then I'm going to select over here. And let's see if that should get these two things to line up just right. Check. Okay, boom, we got that done. Another long video. But the good news is we have this whole thing assembled in here. Now let's see, I don't remember what I have in here. I think the motors are already set up, hopefully into their own thing already. I think that's inside chassis maybe. Good. Oh, I get diamond in here. Interesting. We're gonna go into here, we're gonna put all these things into their own little sub-assembly. I'm gonna call this like gear mesh properties. I want to see, like, that's fine, we can stop that there. I do want to, the other thing I do want to do is like copy this, copy gear mesh, paste gear mesh, and I'm a little bit, all right, so now what I want to, I'm hoping this is going to work right away. I just want to try and put this piece over here. My concern is I think a lot of these pieces, well, we'll see, because I think this, I might have to do a couple, might have to put this into the right spot and this into the right spot, because these are not really, these parts aren't, they're in position, they're not in position relative to each other, they're in position relative to the frame. So I think like I should be able to probably grab this piece and slide it. Like these two are not linked into this piece anywhere. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put these into, I'm gonna have to do this in like two sections. I'm gonna grab this guy right here and I'm gonna mate this part to the inside of this. Let's solve to make sure that looks roughly right. This thing didn't, oh, because I've mated that thing. Even this thing is like kind of mated in reference to the sides here. That's annoying. It's real annoying. I mean, it just means I have to go through and redo the same thing. I have to do those planar mates, which isn't the worst thing, but it is pretty annoying. I'm trying to think if there's any other way that I could put this into like my chassis. I'll have to think this through. I don't think so. I think the best thing I can do is just go through and redo these planar mates. I'll do that one. Let me get this guy. It's not too bad. Since I know how to do it, I can easy to reproduce. I'm thinking if I think back on this, we probably could have done this in a different way that might have been better for us, but it might have been harder to visualize. We could have really just done one whole. Let's get this in here before I keep talking. No, not that. Flip. Yeah, that looks good. Like probably what we could have done is build this entire channel, one whole of each channel, and then make that an assembly and then copy and paste it. Maybe we have to like flip it or something, mirror it, but that might have been easier than having to do all this, but it's not really gonna end up making much of a difference here. All right, let's see. Let's get this thing mated onto our, let's get this thing mated onto here, and then let's see. I think this needs to flip. It actually looks pretty good on there. Solve. Yeah, that should be fine. So let's do that, and then, all right, this piece, we'll get a plane this one, a lot of planar mates in here. We're gonna plane this one onto the face. Oh, I realized I just put this thing in reverse. Dang. I gotta take this thing. Oh man, a little frustrating. All right. Anyways, I'm just gonna have to. I might put this into a separate video. We'll just stop it here and I'll pick it up in a minute.